I remember the night everything changed. My name is Emily Carter, and I grew up in a small town in Ohio where people minded their own business, but family always seemed to know when something was off. My brother Daniel had always been a mystery even when we were kids. He was 3 years older than me, the kind of boy who stayed quiet at family dinners, kept his grades steady, and never caused trouble. To most people, Daniel seemed like the perfect son. But behind the closed door of his room, there was always something more, something hidden. When we were younger, I thought it was just teenage moodiness. He locked his door more than most kids did, but I shrugged it off, figuring he wanted privacy. After all, I sometimes needed space too. But as the years went on, his behavior grew stranger. He became more secretive, more withdrawn. He'd wait until the house was silent late at night before creeping downstairs to the kitchen, moving like a shadow so no one would hear. His curtains were always shut, even on bright summer days when sunlight painted every other window in gold. And most unsettling of all, he never let anyone in his room. Not mom, not dad, not even me. At first, I respected it. Everyone deserves their own space, right? But then small things began to pile up. I'd hear him whispering when no one was around. Not on the phone, not gaming with friends, just low, hushed words that made the hairs on my arms stand straight. Sometimes I'd find scraps of paper near the trash can outside, crumpled notes with half-scribbled phrases or drawings that didn't make sense. When I asked about them, he'd just shrug and act like he didn't know what I was talking about. By the time I turned 17, curiosity had grown into something heavier: worry. Daniel was 20 now, home from his first year of college for the summer, but he seemed even more distant than before. He barely joined us for meals, always making excuses. "I'm tired," he'd mumble. Or, "I already ate." And when he did sit at the table, his eyes looked clouded, like he was somewhere else entirely. That summer was especially hot. The air conditioner in our old house struggled to keep up, and the upstairs hallway felt like a furnace. I'd walk past Daniel's door and notice it was shut tight, no air moving from inside. Sometimes, I'd press my ear against it, hearing faint sounds I couldn't quite place. Tapping, scratching, maybe even the faint buzz of electronics. I knew I shouldn't pry, but every instinct in me screamed that something was wrong. It all came to a breaking point one sweltering night in July. I couldn't sleep. The air was too thick, my fan too weak. I tossed and turned until I gave up, slipping into the hallway for some cooler air by the downstairs vent. That's when I noticed a thin strip of light under Daniel's door. My heart sped up. It was nearly 2 a.m., yet he was awake. I crept closer, careful not to let the floorboards groan under my feet. The light flickered, like a candle or maybe a computer screen. I leaned down and pressed my ear to the wood. That's when I heard it clearly, his voice. Low, steady, like he was reading something out loud. But the words weren't normal. They were broken, fragmented, strung together in ways that made no sense. It almost sounded like chanting. A chill spread through me, even though sweat still clung to my skin. I knocked softly. "Daniel?" Silence. I knocked again, louder. "Daniel, it's me. Can I come in?" The light under the door vanished instantly. A sharp scrape followed, like a chair being shoved back. Then footsteps, heavy and deliberate, came toward me. The door rattled, but it stayed locked. "What are you doing up?" His voice was firm, but I caught the edge of panic in it. "I couldn't sleep," I whispered, suddenly regretting knocking at all. "It's too hot. Go back to bed, Emily." His tone left no room for argument. I stood frozen, my heart thundering. Something inside me wanted to obey, to slip back to my room and pretend I hadn't heard a thing. But another part of me, the stronger part, was done with pretending. I was tired of secrets, tired of worrying about what he was hiding behind that door. That night, I made up my mind. If Daniel wouldn't let me in, I'd find a way in myself. It took 2 more days before I acted on it. I waited until the house was empty. Mom and Dad were at work, and Daniel had told us he was going out with some friends. As soon as I heard his car pull away from the driveway, I slipped into the hallway. My palms were slick with sweat, though whether from the heat or nerves, I wasn't sure. The doorknob didn't budge, of course. He always locked it. But what Daniel didn't know was that I'd once borrowed Dad's old set of lockpicking tools from the garage, not for anything serious, just to practice on my diary lock when I lost the key. I'd gotten pretty good. Kneeling in front of Daniel's door, I pulled the small tools from my pocket. My breath came fast, uneven, but my hands moved steadily. One twist, then another. The lock clicked open. My chest tightened. This was it. I turned the knob slowly and pushed. The door creaked, loud in the stillness. For a second, I froze, half expecting Daniel to leap out from behind it. But the room was empty. What I saw inside made me step back in shock.